this is my review of Sonic X. Okay, so this episode's a little bit confusing, but it does bring up some pretty important plot points that are going to be essential for understanding the show going forward. So the episode starts off with Knuckles sulking because he can't find the rest of the Master Emerald, and is a little bit concerned that he'll never find it since he's only found one piece so far, and isn't entirely sure where else to look. So, but at that exact moment, the Master Emerald finally decides to give him another vision, showing Tikal looking on in abject horror as the shrine containing the Master Emerald and the Chaos Emeralds are blown to pieces and raised to the ground. And Knuckles takes his vision to heart and realizes that he can't sit by and do nothing, since realizes that one way or another he needs to find all the pieces of the Master Emerald and reassemble it. And with that, his motivation has been restored, and he goes off to do that. Meanwhile, Sonic and Tails have decided to recuperate and go look for Amy, but they don't really know where to start. And Sonic is notably a little concerned that Tails is going right into searching for Dr. Eggman despite still being injured, and even points out his concerns to Tails. But Tails remarks that they're a team, and regardless of whether or not he's actually feeling okay or not, they need to find Dr. Eggman before he hurts somebody else, and also they need to find Amy because that's their top priority. And Sonic, realizing that Tails is pretty much set on doing this, decides to honor his wishes and then goes outside to better get a better look from the top of the X tornado. And meanwhile, and also during this sequence, Chris and Big are fishing for reasons that are obvious if you played Sonic Adventure. But Chris remarks that they should really be looking for Froggy, and is a little concerned that Big is just kind of idling his thumbs, more or less, and just fishing, and asks him if it's really the appropriate time to be fishing. And Big remarks back that Christian looks so worried, and that he knows exactly what he's doing. So, and as they're fishing, they notice that the X tornado and worry if Tails is okay. And unbeknownst to either of them, underneath the waves is the egg carrier with Amy and Lily in the jail cell underneath the waves. So they're locked up in the brig of the egg carrier, and Amy remarks why she kind of likes Sonic so much. So she remarks to Lily that she's a little upset that Eggman came along and ruined what was going to be a gourmet meal for Sonic, pointing out that she was going to use what she learned from Ella to actually get Sonic to finally open up by basically winning his heart by going through his stomach, which is a classic proverb if you probably have heard of it. But in case she also points out that the reason she loves Sonic is because regardless of how many times he points out that he doesn't really, he at the very least rebuffs her affections and runs away from her, he always comes through to save her regardless of the circumstances, and that now is going to be no different, and hopes that one day Sonic will eventually come for her, and is pretty convinced that he eventually will. Meanwhile, in the other room, Dr. Eggman has given a very specific order to his new E-Series robots. They need to find Froggy, pointing out that the reason being that he needs to find a frog with a tail, and then proceeds to send them out into the world to go find them, and they do it without question. So in any case, Knuckles eventually finds the rest of the Master Emerald pieces, and manages to assemble them all. At which point he gets another vision. He begins to realize that there's a message that the Master Emerald at the very least is trying to send him, namely that the servers are the 7 Chaos and the Master is the one that unifies the chaos. It's clear that during the vision she's also speaking to somebody else. And it's implied to be chaos, but we never actually see chaos. We just see a pool of water, which is what chaos's default form is. But she points out that the reason that it needs to flee because Pashamak is coming, and it needs to be able to be prepared and protect itself. But it never actually says this. But it basically implies that it can't, and that it needs to keep its child buddy safe. So, and sure enough, upon realizing that Tikal is kind, it permits the child to take her to the Master Emerald and the Chaos Emeralds, which look a little bit different in the past. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but it's here where she realizes the message that the Master Emerald is trying to show her, and she passes on this information with Knuckles watching it through her. Basically, he's watching it from his own perspective, but she doesn't know he's there. And at which point he realizes that there's most likely a message that the Master Emerald is trying to show him, and he wonders what it could actually mean. But in case he finally assembles the Master Emerald together, except for one piece, and realizes that that he needs to find that last piece before the Master Emerald can be whole again. At which point he sees a vision of the egg carrier, realizes that Dr. Eggman is up to something, and goes looking for him. And sure enough, that winds up being a catalyst, because right around that time, Dr. Eggman's robots are looking for Froggy, and they happen to be looking around where Big and Chris are fishing. And Big successfully fishes up Froggy. And Gamma, seeing Froggy and realizing it's the right frog, takes it, and after all four have a frog, they proceed back to the egg carrier, and Chris and Big decide to chase after him to try and find out where they're now keeping Froggy. But in case they return back to the command center, and Dr. Eggman isn't happy with them. Basically, he's upset by the fact that they all brought back the wrong frog, except for Gamma, who actually does a good job and actually brings back the frog he's looking for. And he's over the moon, and he's very happy with Gamma, but has the rest of them scrapped because they failed to do the one job he asked them to do, which is, I don't know, it's Dr. Eggman, but I guess it is fair. He built them. He built them to do a job. They didn't do a job, so naturally he should, in theory, scrap them. But in case Tico and Boko scrap the robots, and then Dr. Eggman sends Gamma to retrieve Lily, which he goes to oblige. But after seeing his friends basically vaporized, Gamma is now deep in thought and begins to ponder why he's actually following Dr. Eggman. So much so that he actually walks by Big and Chris and doesn't notice that they're there, and Chris and Big just kind of shrug to each other because they're not entirely sure what's going on with Gamma. But in case, Gamma heads to Amy's prison cell. However, in the process, he accidentally makes a wrong turn and walks in on Beta being disassembled and rebuilt into something else. It's not entirely sure I'm not entirely sure what. It's never explained what in the episode, but it's clear. This clearly shakes Beta shakes Gamma to his core, because he just sees one of his comrades being disemboweled and remade into something, and this notably starts to shake his already frazzled nerves. Or do robots have nerves? I don't think they do, but in any case, it shakes something, and after seeing that, he proceeds to go to Amy's cell and basically orders Amy to hand over Lily and so that Dr. Eggman will be pleased with him. But Amy refuses, pointing out that just because that he's not afraid of Dr. Eggman or his robots, and that regardless of if she was, she would never let him have his way with animals, because that's not okay. And Gamma is having a hard time comprehending Amy's mindset, and at which point Amy asks him to let him out, which points out that that isn't really in his programming, pointing out that Dr. Eggman would get really pissed at him if he did. But Amy retorts back that he doesn't need to be evil just because Dr. Eggman programmed him to be evil. He can choose what he wants to be, and that is ultimately up to him. But Gamma is still very adamant on the fact that he can't disobey the Doctor. At which point Lily squirms out of Amy's grasp and looks Gamma in the eyes, and Gamma basically has a breakdown. It's basically what happens is logic circuits start to overheat. It's not entirely sure what it is, and eventually it comes to the decision that it doesn't need to be relying on Dr. Eggman anymore, and frees Amy. And Amy thanks the robot and responds that it's a nice robot, and that it's a kind robot, unlike Dr. Eggman's other robots. And before leaving, at which point Gamma begins to question its own existence and goes off to do something where it's never said what. Meanwhile, Knuckles sees the egg carrier, and Sonic and Tails pick him up and chase after him. And they begin to board Dr. Eggman's new ship, but Dr. Eggman is prepared for them and opens up his main cannon after they dodge all the secondary ones. But Tails is prepared for this. He actually built in a battle mode to the X-Tornado, which enables him to effortlessly shoot through Dr. Eggman's offenses and basically get in close enough that they can land. Although he does go a little bit crazy, and Sonic asks him to take it easy just a little bit, which Tails is happy to oblige. But in any case, after chewing through all of Dr. Eggman's offense, they eventually go to land on the egg carrier, only for Tails to realize that there actually is no landing gear in the mode that they're in, and they wind up crashing into the deck instead. So yeah, there's a lot of things to unpack. Mainly that Tikal is clearly showing visions to Knuckles to help aid him in figuring out the truth behind Chaos. If you've played Sonic Adventure, you know what the truth actually is, but basically the anime is just retelling Sonic Adventure and trying to make it better, I think, because there's a lot of things in Sonic Adventure that aren't explained very clearly, and Sonic X definitely helps explain some of the earlier games a little bit better, I feel. But yeah, in any case, the main takeaway from this is that Tikal is trying to show Knuckles a message so that he can relay it back to the others and actually figure out the truth behind the Master Emerald, the Chaos Emeralds, and Chaos. And Knuckles seems like he's getting it, but he hasn't fully pieced together the entire picture. Meanwhile, Dr. Eggman has Froggy, which has the Chaos Emerald as well as possibly a piece of Chaos that it's missing. So now he has things that could definitely help him in taking over the world using Chaos. So yeah, that's bad. But it's not all bad though, because now one of Dr. Eggman's robots has rebelled against him. So yeah, we're going to be seeing the impact of that going forward. But in any case, yeah, that's my review of Sonic X. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that I'm always saying thanks, so be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!